Hello everyone, I'm Eric, but everybody calls me Sir Sig, a Filipino writer and horror story host. And this is Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. On this channel, I share Filipino horror stories that I personally write, inspired by our culture, our beliefs, and the many mysterious stories that exist in the Philippines. I grew up hearing stories about ghosts, spirits, Diwata, Encanto, and other creatures from our folklore, and this channel is my way of sharing those stories with all of you. Some of the stories you'll hear here are pure horror fiction that I wrote, but many of them are also real-life experiences sent by my followers directly to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read their stories, write them into narrative form, and share them here so more people can hear about these strange and terrifying experiences. I also want to be honest with you. My English is not very good, so I use Edge Translator and AI voice to help me tell my stories in English. I hope you don't mind the AI voice, but I promise you that every story on this channel is written with effort, passion, and the goal of entertaining your mind. And maybe even giving your soul a little chill. So if you enjoy horror stories, mysteries, and tales inspired by Filipino culture and folklore, you're in the right place. Turn down the lights, relax, and listen carefully.
My boyfriend sabotaged my birth control pills. One day, I was doing some chores around the house when I suddenly stopped and grabbed my stomach. My boyfriend noticed right away. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine, but something about my body felt strange. I couldn't explain it. He said he understood the feeling. Apparently, he wasn't feeling that great either. Maybe it was because of the raw fish kilawin we ate the night before. He suggested I get some rest, so I agreed. He told me to lie down in bed and that he would bring me something to drink before leaving for work. I went upstairs to the bedroom and laid down. I'm not used to sleeping in the middle of the morning, but I felt incredibly exhausted. I thought maybe a short nap would help. I woke up a few hours later. I had slept for a long time, but somehow I didn't feel any better. I made myself a bowl of cereal, my comfort food, and sat on the couch while watching a marathon of traitors. A few hours later, Jay came home and found me lying there on the couch, still watching. He asked how I was feeling. I told him I wasn't as tired anymore, but there was still something strange going on with my body. He said maybe we caught something from the fish we ate. Then he asked if he could watch with me. I said sure. I lifted half the blanket. He took off his shoes and slid under it beside me, leaning against my shoulder. He asked what he had missed in the show. So I told him everything that had happened in the season so far. He said he had heard the season was going to get really messy, that something crazy was about to. I immediately shushed him. I told him I hated spoilers and that he'd better not ruin the surprise. He apologized. We kept watching until the 4th episode. Then suddenly, I ran to the bathroom and vomited into the toilet. Jake heard the noise and rushed after me. He held my hair back while asking, "Are you okay?" I told him I didn't even know what was happening to me. I just suddenly felt dizzy. Before I could finish my sentence, I vomited again. He told me to go back to bed and said he would bring me some ginger ale. That night, we were lying in bed together. "I feel really awful," I said. "It feels like the flu, but worse than anything I've ever had before. He said maybe the flu going around lately was just particularly bad. Maybe, I replied. But the next day, my condition got even worse. So I scheduled an emergency appointment with a doctor. I went to the clinic while Jake was at work. An hour later, I walked out of the clinic, completely shocked by what the doctor had told me. When Jake came home later that day, he greeted me immediately. He asked what the doctor said. He assumed it was just the flu and that the doctor probably gave me stronger medicine. I told him it wasn't the flu. He looked surprised. So what is it? He asked. Some kind of parasite or something? I told him the truth. I'm pregnant. He froze. Huh? Did I hear that right? He asked with a smile forming on his face. I repeated it. I'm pregnant. He stood up and began mumbling something to himself. What did you say? I asked. Speak up. I couldn't hear you. He said it was nothing, but I was sure I heard him say something. It sounded like Holy SH asterisk T. It worked. I asked him what he meant, and that's when he confessed. He said, I microwaved your birth control pills. For a moment, I was completely frozen in shock. I asked him what he had done, but he just smiled. He said it was okay, because I was pregnant now. We were going to have a baby. Wasn't that wonderful news? He tried to hug me, but I shoved him away. I was furious. I asked him if he had tampered with my birth control. Then I asked if he had messed with the condoms too. He looked down at the floor, almost embarrassed. Then he said, yes, but he said it was for the good of both of us. Now we were going to have a baby. It was a miracle. That only made me angrier. I reminded him that I had already told him I couldn't get pregnant. That's why I insisted we use both pills and condoms. I asked him if he had any idea what he had done, but he said I was probably just overreacting. Apparently, it was normal for pregnant women because of hormones. In fact, he said this was a good thing. I was so angry that I walked away and went into the bedroom. I slammed the door shut. This is bad. A few hours later, I was still in the bedroom. Jake tried talking to me, but every time I remembered what he had done, I ignored him. Then suddenly, I heard him scream outside. I rushed out of the room and saw him lying on the floor, clutching his stomach. He asked what was happening to him. I reminded him of what I told him before, that I couldn't have children. That wasn't just something I said casually. I truly cannot get pregnant. Because where I come from, women are not the ones who give birth. I come from a cursed bloodline. We have another way. Then I told him something else. I'm not from here, Jake. He looked confused. He asked what I meant. So I explained. No woman in my family can become pregnant. The curse started with our ancestor long ago. She was a Diwata, but she refused to accept the curse. So she fought it with another curse, using dark magic. The only way she could have a child was to find a man who would accept her, love her, and share in her pain. It didn't matter what kind of man, as long as he was male. In short, the man would carry the child for her. Someone had to bear a child to continue our bloodline. Jake cursed in shock. He asked what the hell I was talking about. I looked straight at him and told him the truth. I'm a Diwata, Jake from a cursed lineage. And to continue our generation, the man is the one who carries the baby. He was the one who was pregnant. He couldn't believe it. He said it was impossible. No matter how crazy pregnancy hormones were, That's not how the world worked. I told him he was right. That's not how it works here. But he wouldn't be giving birth here anyway. You'll give birth in our world, Jake. At that moment, the front door suddenly slammed open. 3 tall figures stepped inside. They were beautiful, elegant, almost regal. Women. Each of them held a staff, and wings spread from their backs. I looked at Jake. I told you, I can't get pregnant, Jake. Jake stared at the 3 beings standing inside the house. He could barely breathe from fear while clutching his stomach. Slowly, he backed away across the floor. He asked what they were. I didn't answer right away. One of the women approached him. She was taller than the others. Her long white hair flowed behind her, and her wings shimmered like moonlight. She stopped in front of Jake and slowly knelt down. Then she placed her hand on his stomach. Jake suddenly jolted. Something moved inside him. His panic grew even worse. He asked what they were doing to him. The woman spoke softly. The transformation has begun. She said the human world could not sustain the child inside him. He had to be taken somewhere safe, somewhere he could give birth. Jake's voice trembled as he asked what that meant. He looked at me, begging for help, but I stayed silent. I walked closer and slowly leaned down toward him. That's why I took birth control, Jake, I said quietly. To protect you. If you hadn't tampered with my birth control, none of this would have happened. Suddenly, Jake screamed, "Aerith, something's moving inside my stomach." He clutched his belly harder. Now, the movement was clearly visible beneath his skin. Something was crawling inside him. He shut his eyes in pain. He asked what was inside him. I didn't answer right away. I just smiled slightly. Then I told him the truth. He wasn't just carrying a baby. He was carrying the next heir of our bloodline. My father is the king of our kind, Jake, I said, and I am the only heir. Whether that child you're carrying is a boy or a girl, they will be the next one. The 3 women stepped closer and grabbed Jake together. In an instant, the air in the middle of the living room tore open. It looked like reality itself had been ripped apart. Inside it, another world could be seen. The sky was dark. Strange lights floated in the air. Jake screamed and clawed desperately at the floor. But slowly, he was dragged toward the glowing tear. He looked at me one last time, his eyes filled with terror. He begged for help, but I didn't move. Before the portal closed completely, I told him the last thing he ever wanted to hear. Goodbye, Jake. I hope you survive. And in an instant, they were gone. Jake and all of them. The house became quiet again, as if nothing had ever happened. The end.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing Filipino tales, folklore, and true stories from my culture. The Philippines is a land filled with mystery, old beliefs, and stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. Through this channel, I hope I can share a small part of those stories with all of you. If this story gave you chills, or reminded you of something strange that happened in your own life, then maybe the world is more mysterious than we think. If you enjoy Filipino horror stories, folklore, and real paranormal experiences, and you don't mind that these stories are narrated using an AI voice, Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. And if you have your own scary experience, something you can't explain, something that still haunts you until today, you can send your story to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read your messages, and some of them may become the next story featured here on this channel. Remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are not the ones we imagine. Sometimes they are the ones that really happened. This is Sir Sig, and thank you for listening to Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. Until the next story, keep the lights low and keep the candle burning.